pre-recorded presentation on Newport Bee Friendly scheme from Lucy Arnold Matthew from Newport City Council.
I joined the countryside team here at Newport City Council in the spring of 2019. My role is to support schools to enhance biodiversity within their grounds, support communities and volunteer groups with biodiversity projects, as well as supporting our own teams with the management of a number of countryside sites and local nature reserves. By the end of my first week in my new role, it became clear to me that one of Newport Council's priorities was to improve how it managed areas for pollinators. I was asked if I thought I could make Newport a bee-friendly city. I started to wonder exactly how I was going to do this. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it alone, and my biggest chance of making the most change was to get as many people on board as possible. As the Bee Friendly scheme states, it's not just about bees, we want people to take action to help all pollinators. In July 2019, the leader of the council put forward a cross-party motion to support the initiative from the Welsh Government and Friends of the Earth to make Newport a bee-friendly city. The aim of the motion was to protect and enhance its pollinator habitats through management of green spaces. The motion included the objectives to protect and enhance, increase awareness and increase understanding of the importance of pollinators. With this in mind, we set the goal of achieving bee-friendly city status for Newport by this time the following year. My first port of call was to get to know the grounds maintenance team and find out how they were already working and what they were already doing to support pollinators. I have to say that I was really pleasantly surprised. There's already a lot of thought and care going into choosing the right kind of flower and seed mixes in their planting schemes. There were raised beds, wildflower areas, and mown margins and floral displays on roundabouts, already in progress. We started to document all of these things and were surprised by how it all started to add up. Collectively, we agreed that these already existing sites would now become designated pollinator sites and would form the absolute minimum that we would commit to delivering year on year. It also became the foundation for us to build on. We then started to think how great it would be if we had at least one designated pollinator site in each ward within the authority area. There were 20 wards, 13 of which already had what we had newly designated as pollinator sites, so suddenly this idea started to become achievable. Some wards had more than others, and some wards had none. So we started to concentrate our efforts in the wards that had none, and then looked for opportunities for where we could improve managing an area for pollinators within these wards. It was during this time that I received an email from a local resident that frequented St Willis Cemetery, a lady called Bev, a nature lover that walked through the cemetery daily, bemused by the fact that she blissfully wandered through yesterday admiring the flowers that had come through, and on the same walk today all the flowers had gone, they'd been mowed down. And she just wanted to know why. And to be honest, so did I. So I asked the grounds team why the area had been mowed. And the answer was, well, we've always done it. We get complaints if we don't. But we have some ideas where we can change the mowing. Getting to know the grounds team and how they work has been fundamental in implementing change, understanding the barriers that they come up against, whether it's lack of resource, lack of time, lack of knowledge. It's helped us to realise that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. It's about finding a balance for nature, a balance for people, and a balance for us as an organisation implementing change where we can. There had been previous discussions about introducing leaf to grow areas in the cemetery, but that's where it stopped. So we decided to revisit it. We talked about if there was scope to change how we manage these areas, what resources did we have, and what do we need? Was it even achievable? And we started to wonder how those that visited the cemetery would feel about us creating leaf to grow areas. I responded to Bev, explained that as a council we were looking at new ways of how to carry out a more sympathetic approach to managing areas for pollinators in line with the Bee Friendly scheme, and I asked her if she would like to meet us on site to see if we could come up with a way of working this to everyone's benefit. Bev was thrilled. She was half expecting a generic standard response from the council, but instead she was meeting with an organisation that really wanted to hear her concerns and how it affected her and her community on a localised level. And we wanted to take action to implement positive change. With her help, we could take steps to becoming a bee-friendly city, and more importantly, she could play a part in formulating that change and feeding into something bigger. Between us all, we identified 2 large areas that we would pilot a new mown regime, and we spoke to those that frequented the cemetery to gauge their response and feedback, which was mostly positive, with maybe a few sceptics thrown in. The grass was left to grow for the rest of the summer. Flowers and grasses flourished, bees and butterflies thrived, and signs were installed to give a little background to those passing through. At the end of the summer, a cut had been arranged to cut the long grass and the flowers that had now gone to seed, and the horizons were to be raked off and collected. And then disaster struck. As the machine moved in, out moved the mammals that also made the long, undisturbed grass their home. Unfortunately, although we'd got it right for the bees, we had got it wrong for the mammals. By trying to save the one, we'd inadvertently damaged the other. Devastated by how we'd got it so wrong, we went back to the drawing board. How are we ever going to be able to increase our capacity to maintain and increase habitat for pollinators elsewhere if we couldn't even get it right in the smaller areas? This was one mistake that we had to learn from. We had to get this right next year, and that's exactly what we did. During the next growing season of 2020, we spent time working out how we could make sure that these areas were supporting all wildlife, training our teams on how to carry out thorough checks for wildlife before the machines went in. Although site checks were always done before, it transpired that when it came to it, they didn't really know what they were looking for. This year, I'm happy to say that all aspects of this particular area worked really well. We learned some hard lessons, but it has enabled us to move forward and build confidence within our teams and our communities, which in turn has also enabled us to build capacity, increasing the amount of habitat that we now manage for pollinators. We needed that room to make mistakes in a pilot area to ensure that we didn't make the same mistakes on a larger scale as we moved forward with our plans to take on more sites and achieve bee-friendly city status. We also worked together with our partners at the Living Levels project. They too were working on a pollinator project with the Bumblebee Conservation Trust and BugLife, and were keen to see if there were any larger sites that sat within the Gwent levels that we could designate as pollinator sites. We identified 2 potential areas of interest. One was around 10 acres in Coed Cernew, and the other roughly a 5-acre site with potential for more at the Newport Household Waste Recycling Centre, otherwise lovingly known locally as the Tip. With recorded sightings of shrill carderby in very close proximity, both of these sites have huge potential to support this extremely rare species. Joining up with partners with a shared goal has proved to be invaluable for us to getting these areas designated as pollinator sites and being able to commit to their long-term management. The shared bee-friendly goal has reinforced the work that each of us as an organisation has done. Shortly after the signs were installed, I was contacted by a local resident, Sue. She's a member of the local community group that carries out regular litter picks and conservation activities. I arranged to meet with Sue. She introduced me to a couple of members of the group. Still fairly new to the role, they took me on a tour of the area. Nobody knows these areas better than the people that live there. Spending this time with them, getting to know them, and finding out what the priorities to them are on a local level have again proven to be invaluable. A keen beekeeper and wildlife gardener herself, Sue was keen to hear more about the council's plans on becoming a bee-friendly city and how they, as a community, could get involved. During these first initial meetings, the mowing schedules were already well underway. With further discussions and the community on board, Coed Cernew became our first residential pilot site to undergo changes to its mowing regime. As of the next season, 2020, all of the green spaces within the housing estate would be left to grow, with just a narrow margin mown as a maintenance strip in key areas, such as next to footpaths and around the fence lines. Again, having the backing of the community and these relationships is key to implementing this change. Building relations and being able to have honest discussions with members of the community have probably proven to be one of the most valuable aspects of the bee-friendly scheme. These relationships have enabled us once again to strike a balance for nature, a balance for people, and a balance for us as an organisation trying to implement change. I'm going to play you a short video that Sue made so that you can hear in her own words what this means to her and her community.
Hello, my name is Sue Colwell and I'm a volunteer worker for wildlife in Coed Cernew and Dyffryn, Newport. As a beekeeper and nature enthusiast, I understand the vital importance of the many different species of bees, but having bee-friendly accreditation as a city means a lot more than just providing for bees. We need to look at nature as a whole, as an interconnected support system where all forms of life play an important role and where we as humans have responsibility to help nature thrive rather than just survive through our actions. The scale of insect decline across the UK is of real concern. They are the necessary link that underpin our whole ecology. And that is why I and many other local residents have chosen to champion nature and give our time to help insects and other wildlife to thrive and not just survive here. The creation and maintenance of suitable habitats to enable this support is a priority, and we do have many amazing local places for nature in and around our locality. From greens, lakes and ponds, to gardens, woodlands, parklands, meadows, and even the roadside verges. These are all places where, with a little human empathy, a little knowledge and supportive action, could be wonderful havens for wildlife. We need large areas of our green spaces to be left just a little bit wilder, to provide habitat where native plants and insects can thrive, to provide the support needed for the whole web of life. We can see here the obvious benefits to wildlife with these council-maintained road verges. There are those left to grow and bloom with wildlife support potential, and then those that are regularly scalped, parched and devoid of life. Here in Coedcurno and Dyffryn, we have many residents who regularly litter pick and clean up our local places to help nature thrive. Educating adults and children about the natural world around us so that we understand we are not separate from nature but an important and integrated part of it. We are working with Newport City Council and other agencies such as the Woodland Routes to Wellbeing, Grow in Space, Keep Wales Tidy and local hedgehog and wildlife rescues to create and improve wildlife habitats across the area. Planting wildflowers and trees, organic gardening, installing bird and bat boxes, setting up hedgehog highways and nest boxes, bug and bee hotels and log piles, all to benefit nature and ultimately ourselves too. When people come together and invest their time and skills in projects such as these, they are more likely to engage with and enjoy being out in nature. And as we know, the benefits for our own physical and mental health and well-being are immense. As a community, we are more actively supporting each other through friendships and common interests, whilst together providing the support needed to nurture nature and help it thrive in our own little pocket of Wales.
Working together with communities like this, in this way, has given us and our teams a little room to grow and learn together. Although we aim to get things right first time, sometimes mistakes do happen. But when, or if they do, it's on a smaller scale, enabling us to rethink the situation or find a solution together before rolling out these changes on a much larger scale as planned in the years to come. Having this room to learn and implement change with the support of this community is enabling us as an organisation to build capacity one step at a time. During this time, a new group had started in Rogerstone. Sarah, a resident, had started to gain followers for her tips on wildlife gardening and a knowledge of the local wildlife, and soon the Wild About Rogerstone group was formed. She'd started to look a little more closely at the area and put forward ideas of enhancements that could be done to benefit nature. She also had an idea to create a community garden, listening to ideas from within the community as to what they would like to include. A meeting for interested parties was held. This was a difficult one for me. As a council, we own very little land in this area, and so other than moral support, ideas and networking opportunities, I wasn't really sure what I could bring to the table, unless we altered the mowing regimes of some of the roadside verges. Historically, these verges have always been kept very neat. We'd already changed how we managed the verges of the Mon and Brett Canal that runs right through Rogerstone, and we'd had a very mixed response. But momentum within the community for the Wild About Rogerstone group was growing, and with that, so was the support for the Leave to Grow areas. The verges of one of the main roads into Rogerstone became a Leave to Grow area and a designated pollinator site. During lockdown, with support from us, the council, the group held a competition amongst local children to design a bee-friendly poster, and the prize was for us to have this poster made into a sign and displayed on the site. Again, another example of how building relations within the community at a local level can help to feed into the bigger picture.
Hello, I'm Sarah Simons from Wild About Rogerstone in Newport. I established a local wildlife group called Wild About Rogerstone May 2019 to help local people who wanted to make a difference with wildlife know really what they can do and what's suitable in the area, so I can bring my ecology experience. I work as a consultant ecologist to give them guidance on how to manage grassland or what they can do in their gardens to help bees and other wildlife thrive. I got involved with the Newport Council's idea of changing grassland management, and we've got a few verges now in ROGERSTONE which have been left long all summer, and it's great to see the wildflowers coming through. We've got early spring wildflowers all the way through the summer with sort of wild carrot and knapweed and things right into November, which are still providing nectar sources for bees and butterflies. And the long grass itself will just attract so many more insects, other insects as well as bees, which will then be food for birds and bats, and reptiles will come in, shelter in the grassland. So there's absolutely loads of benefits, and it actually will look a lot of a nicer area, in my opinion. When it's all in flower next year, we can add more seeds and make it even more colourful as well. So it's been a great initiative to be a part of. Within the wider Newport Council, I understand Newport is now a bee-friendly city, which is absolutely great news. I see people living alongside areas where they've got wildflowers, they've got access to much more interesting green spaces than some of the green deserts that you can have in parks where close mown grass doesn't support anything really. And not just wildflowers and grassland, but also fruit trees, fruit bushes, all amazing nectar sources for bees, and I think of benefit to people as well. So wherever you have a bee-friendly area, which is going to have a much more interesting looking area for people to enjoy, and a great education resource as well for people to enjoy, and for school children to go out and actually see wildlife, butterflies, bees flying around, and doing all the things they learn about in school. It's got to be a good thing, so I'm really pleased to be a part of making Newport a bee-friendly city and doing our bit here in ROGERSTONE. Thank you.
This year, we had planned a targeted approach to schools to help educate, engage and involve children and support schools in becoming bee-friendly accredited in their own right. I'd already had a bit of a test run and spent the day exploring habitat and holding bee counts with a year group from St Willis Primary School the previous summer. They were the first school in Newport to attain their own bee-friendly status. Incidentally, these activities were held in Bellevue Park, the first of the Victorian parks and gardens in Newport to have their own bee-friendly status and the first park to stop using all pesticides, leading the way for others to follow suit. Unfortunately, COVID-19 had other ideas this year and we were plunged into lockdown, which meant that the planned work with schools was unable to go ahead, and I had to think of an alternative way to engage with local children in a way that would connect them with nature in their own homes. And with that, my Back Garden Biodiversity YouTube channel was born. Now, I'm not exactly the next big thing on YouTube. The videos I created were simple activities to benefit nature using everyday items found around the home. Things like making a bee drinker, building a bee and bug hotel, planting seeds. We shared videos with the schools who started to send them out to children as part of their online learning, and they were shared on the Newport City Council's social media pages. Before I knew it, I was getting photographs sent to me of the activities that the children had done and emails from teachers telling me how much the children had loved completing the activities. So, although it wasn't the approach that we'd planned, we had managed to adapt and engage with children during a time of surreal uncertainty.
Hi, I'm Councillor Laura Lacey from Newport City Council and also the Biodiversity Champion for the city. About 18 months ago, we brought the bee-friendly motion for the city to full council, which was passed unanimously. It's a really important initiative and a really easy initiative to take part in. You know, it's really important for the city to be pollinator friendly. It can be done quite inexpensively and you can get a lot of people involved, children in the community, you know, both adults as well, with community gardens, non-cut areas of grass, and also the schools are getting involved because they can get individual accreditation for the school to be bee friendly, which has been taken up quite a lot, and it's exciting for children to, you know, get their little plaque that they're bee friendly. You know, in this day and age, with austerity and you know, shortage of money, this is something that everybody can take part in, even in your own back garden, for, as I said, very little cost, but for massive impact going forward. We need to look after our pollinators. We need to make sure that everything, you know, is okay. The change in the changes in, you know, basically our behaviour, the changes in our pesticides. It's something that we can all do. We can all bring forward and get the city thriving with our little bees and other pollinators that fly across the city. Thank you very much.
In January 2020, we received our official bee-friendly city status. I think having a recognised bee-friendly accreditation to aim for has certainly helped add substance and to gain support to implement bee-friendly changes across the council. There's been a real shift in attitude and energy with both staff and residents, more so this year than in previous years. Maybe because people have experienced for themselves firsthand the benefits that nature can bring. And we look forward to rolling out more bee-friendly changes across the city in the years to come.